Hello and welcome to part 2 of lesson 5 about the core configurations of the warehouse management module. This session is about the wave template configuration. In this session, we're going to review how to configure and process the waves in the warehouse management module. So first, let's define the wave. The wave is a group of shipments that are typically picked from the warehouse at the same time. In order to process and manage the wave, then you should configure wave templates. So the wave templates are managed the wave execution process, so the warehouse works will be generated. You can define and configure wave templates for sales shipping, production orders, and Kanban. Like everything in the warehouse management process, the wave process could vary from one company to another depending on the warehouse and the logistics process. The warehouse management module is dynamic enough so you can build different wave templates that could handle different business scenarios. So using the wave template, you can manage the fact whether the wave should be automatically or manually created. If the wave should be manually created, then the warehouse team can manually create a wave, then add the shipments that should be bagged together into that wave. This could be also an automated process based on the wave template criteria of the applicable orders. In that case, the wave will be automatically created with the release to warehouse process. Then you can determine when the wave will be processed, so the picking works will be generated. This process could be manually, and in that case, the process step will be manually triggered by the warehouse management team. This process could be also automatically using different options, like to automatically process the wave every time when the release to warehouse process is performed, or based on threshold, like the number of shipments, or this could be also periodically based on recurrence time. After that, you can manage if the wave should be automatically released after generating the picking works. When the wave is released, then the warehouse clerks can process the picking works, but in case of the release step should be manually performed, the wave will be held and the picking works will be blocked until releasing the wave. Now let's briefly talk about the wave lifecycle. So first, the wave will be created either manually or automatically. Then it could be executing while processing the wave. Then the wave could be held or released based on the release option in the wave template. And then it will be pegged when the picking works are closed. And finally, it will be shipped when the corresponding shipments are confirmed. Now let's navigate to the application and see how to configure a wave template that should manage the e-commerce orders. As per the company policy, the orders that will be received before a specific time will be shipped next day by shipping carrier FedEx. So let's see how to configure such a template. So here in the wave templates form that found in warehouse management module, setup waves, then wave templates, I'm going to create a new wave template. So first I'll select shipping in the wave template type and then I'll click new. After that, I'll give it a name and description. So the name is warehouse 80 online store, and I'll use the same as the description. Then we have here the wave template sequence. The sequence determines the position of the wave when the system search for available waves and until the criteria that's specified here in the edit query is met. So indeed, if you have multiple waves for the same warehouse, the wave that has the lower sequence number and that will meet the criteria will be applied first. Then here in the warehouse, I'll select here the warehouse 80 and then I'll click save. Once you saved a template, then the template status indicates whether this template is valid or no. Then here in the methods, you will see that there are 4 methods that have been moved automatically to the selected methods. The wave methods are used to perform some actions while processing the wave, like to create the picking works. When you configure a template for type shipping, then you must select these 4 methods. So here we have validate wave, create loads, allocate wave, then create work. Then here in the remaining methods, still we have some methods that could be optionally used for other processes like replenishment, containerization, and wave label printing. These are predefined methods that generated by the system, but first time when you create a new legal entity, you should regenerate the available methods. So let's navigate to the wave process methods form in order to generate the available methods. Indeed, this is one-time setup just when you create a new legal entity. The wave process methods form found in warehouse management module, setup waves, then wave process methods. I'll click here regenerate methods, and then the system will generate the available methods for shipping, production orders, and Kanban. Now let's go back to the wave template in order to configure the edit query of the applicable orders. So first, you will need to temporarily enable any of these options just to enable the edit query button. So I'll enable this one, and then I'll click here, edit query. Here in the edit query, I selected sales orders and the reference, and then in the pool, I selected pool 02, which is the internet orders. And then here in the confirmed ship date, I selected this query that will select the sales orders that will be delivered by tomorrow. And then in the shipping carrier, I selected FedEx. Now let's move to the General tab and see how the available options can impact the wave process. So I'll start first from the default values, and here we have 4 attributes. These attributes used to default some values on the generated waves. So the values that will be selected here in the wave template will be defaulted into the generated waves. Now let's see how to manage and create the wave attributes. So the wave attributes found in warehouse management module, setup, waves, then wave attributes. And here you can define the attribute values, link to attribute name, and give it a description. So for example, for attribute 1, I use the attribute 1 to categorize the sales channel into online stores and wholesales. And the attribute number 2 to categorize the shipping carriers like UPS and FedEx, and the attribute number 3 to determine the the shipping delivery terms. Like I have here a value for the next day delivery and same day delivery. Let's go back to the wave template and select the available attributes. So here for this template, I'll select here e-commerce, and in the attribute 2, I'll select FedEx, and in attribute 3, I'll select next day delivery. And now let's go through the available options one by one. The first option here is automate wave creation. This option is manage the logic of the wave creation and if this process will be manually or automatically generated. If this option is set to yes, so then after the process of release to the warehouse, then the system will create a new wave automatically to be assigned to the generated shipments. If this option is disabled or set to no, then you have to manually create a new wave in order to assign it to the generated shipments. Now let's see how to create a new wave manually. Indeed, it's not necessary that all the companies are creating the waves manually, but this depends on the business requirements. In order to create a new wave manually, I'll navigate to All Waves form, all waves found in warehouse management module, outbound waves, shipment waves, then all waves. Then I'll click new. So the system will give it the wave ID as per the number sequence configuration. And then I'll give it a name here for the description. This would be warehouse 80 online stores, for example, of February 13th orders. And then I'll select from here a wave template name. I can also give it some attributes. So this is a manual process. So I'll select here e-commerce. Here I'll select FedEx. Here I'll select next day delivery, and then I'll click OK. So here in the wave form, we can see some information about the wave in the wave tab. So here we have the wave ID and description, the current status, the wave template of this wave, and the related site and warehouse. Then we have here the wave attributes. Indeed, these values have been manually selected, but in case of this wave has been automatically created, then these values will be automatically copied from the attributes that's specified in the wave template. Then we have here some information about the works. So here we have number of works created and the remaining works. Then we have information about the processing history of this wave, like the release date and time, processing date and time, held status date and time, and completion date and time. Then here in the wave lines tab, you can see the shipments of this wave. Indeed, we don't have shipments in this wave, so let's see how to manually add shipments to this wave. So I'll click here maintain shipments, and then in the maintain shipments form, you will find here the open shipments. So you can select here the shipments and then click add to wave or add all. So these shipments will be added to the wave. Or you can utilize the feature of wave filter code. So using the wave filter code, you can define filter codes based on filter criteria to select the applicable shipments that met this criteria. So first, let's navigate to the wave filters form and see how to manage and define the wave filters. So the wave filters found in warehouse management module, set up waves, then wave filters. Here in the wave filters, you can define several wave filters as per the business requirements. So for example, I have here to filter codes that select the orders that related to FedEx and UPS, and I have another one that select the orders that will be delivered next day. So in order to create a new web filter, just click new and give it a name and description, and then here specify the edit query. So for example, for the FedEx one, I specified here in the edit query that the shipping carrier is FedEx. Now let's go back to the wave and see how the wave filter works. So here in the waves, I'll select here in the wave filter code, I'll select FedEx. Then you will see here that the shipments that will be shipped by shipping carrier FedEx are selected. So I can here click add all, then the shipments will be added to the wave. So if I go back here and click refresh, then you will see here that the shipments have been added to the wave. The next option is Assign to Open Waves. This option determines whether a new wave should be created when the release to warehouse process is performed, or if the shipments could be added to an existing open wave. Be aware that when the Assign to Open Waves option is enabled, then multiple shipments could be added to the same wave. Then, when you process this wave, a consolidated picking work will be generated for all the shipments unless you have work header break is configured for this work template. The next option is Process Wave at Release to Warehouse. This option determines when the wave will be processed. This could be manually, automatically, or by using the periodic job. In general, when the wave is processed, then the wave methods will be applied. So here we have Validate Wave, Create Loads, Allocate Wave, and eventually create the picking work. When this option is enabled, then the wave will be automatically processed when the release to warehouse process is performed. I'll keep this option disabled since I'd like to process the wave using the process wave periodic job. Now let's see this quick demo on how the wave could be automatically processed when the process wave at release to warehouse option is enabled. I just created the sales order, then I'll release it to the warehouse from the sales order form. However, the behavior is the same when you release the order to the warehouse in any way. So I'll click release to warehouse, then a shipment will be generated or consolidated to an existing open shipment. Then the shipment will be added to a wave. And finally, when the wave is processed, the picking work will be generated. Now let's review the picking work. So I'll click warehouse, work details. Here we can review the picking work. And if I review the corresponding wave, here we can see the status of the wave is released. So now it's clear that when the process wave at release to warehouse option is enabled, then the wave will be automatically processed. Now let's see how to process the wave manually and by using the periodic job. I'll start first by the manual way, and here we are in the all waves form. I'll select a wave and then I'll click here process. Once you click process, then the wave will be processed and then the picking works will be generated. And now let's see how to process the waves by using the process waves periodic job. So the process waves periodic job found in warehouse management module, outbound waves, then process waves. So using this job, you can configure when the wave will be processed based on a recurrence time. So this is a usual process for the companies that have order deadlines, like when the company promised the customers that the orders that will be placed before a specific time will be delivered the next day. This could be also required if the waves should be processed at a specific time to catch up with the shipping trucks before the departure. You can define several jobs with different filter criteria. So here, for example, I'll click filter and then I'll select here our wave template. So here I'll select warehouse 80 online store and then I'll click OK. Then I'll enable this batch processing to run this job on a batch. And then here you can specify the recurrence date time. So I'll specify here the start date as 12 p.m. every day, and then I'll click OK and OK. So now the process job will be added to the batch queue, and this will ensure that this job will be performed every day at 12 p.m. The next option is process wave automatically at threshold. This option also determines when the wave will be processed, but this time based on wave threshold. So you can specify here wave threshold based on wave weight, number of shipments, or number of lines in the wave. So when the wave values reaches the threshold that's specified here, then the wave will be automatically processed. This option usually used to load balance and control the workload per wave. The next option is automate wave release. So this option determines whether the wave will be manually or automatically released. When this option is disabled, then after the wave will be processed, either manually or automatically, it will be processed, but the status will be held and the generated baking work will be blocked. This means that this baking work cannot be backed, and if someone tries to process the work from the mobile application, then an error message will occur stating that this work is frozen. But when this option is enabled, then the wave will be automatically released and the picking works will be available for processing. Now let's review this demo and see how to release a wave when the automate wave release option is disabled. I just created the sales order line, then I'll release it to the warehouse. So the wave will be processed and the picking work will be created, but it will be blocked. So let's review the created work. Here, the picking work, and we can see that this is blocked. If you review the blocking reason, then the reason is held wave, and the description, the related wave has not been released. And definitely, if you try to process this work from the mobile application, then this error will pop up. Current work is frozen. Right now, you can unblock this specific work here, click unblock, or you can release this wave. So let's navigate to the waveform. Here in the waveform, the current wave status is held. So I'll click release, and then the current status is released and the held status date and time is updated. If you check right now the work, so the work is no longer blocked and you can process the work from the mobile application. The next option is automate replenishment work release. This option works when the replenishment method is selected, and we'll review the replenishment process in details in the replenishment lesson, but for now, simply this option creates demand-based replenishment work and release it automatically. The next option is continue wave processing when work creation fails. This option determines whether the wave should fail or continue processing in case the system cannot reserve inventory at the location proposed by the location directive. When this option is enabled and the location directive failure is not configured on the sales order, then the system will use blank location if the system cannot reserve the inventory. But if the option is disabled, then the wave will fail if the system cannot reserve the inventory. The last option in the General tab is the Wave Notification Policy. So using this option, you can specify when the users should be notified by the wave execution results. Before the availability of this feature, every time when the wave is processed, the wave creator is notified here in the Action Center. So this is a message stating that this wave is completed successfully. But using this feature, you can select who should be notified, like the wave creator or other rules, and in which action should the notifications be generated. So you can define here in the wave notification policy some predefined rules to notify the users when the wave is failed or success, or every time regardless the fact whether the wave is failed or successfully posted. The Wave notification policies is managed by a feature management through a feature called Wave Execution Notifications. This feature is on by default since app release 10.0.25. And now let's see how to manage and define the Wave notification policies. So the Wave notification policies found in Warehouse Management module, Setup, Waves, then Wave notification policies. In order to define a new Wave notification policy, click New and then give it a name and description. And then in the General tab, you can specify here when the notifications should be sent. So here in the Send Notification On, you can select from the available options like Never, and in that case, no notifications will be sent, or you can select Error Only to notify the users only if the wave processing fails, or you can notify the users every time when the wave is processed using the option of Error and Success. Then you should specify the users who should be notified. So for example, you can notify the wave creator by enabling this option, to wave creator. For the waves that were created automatically, this will be the user who released the orders to the warehouse. You can also send notification to all the users in a selected rule, like for example to the warehouse manager, by specifying the rule here in the two rules. Once you define the policies, then you can go back to the wave templates and select here a wave notification policy. For this wave template, I'll select error only, so the notifications will be sent only if the wave processing fails. There is another configuration point that you should consider while configuring the wave notification policies. Let's first review this example. I just released two waves, one that has been successfully posted and the other one failed. Now let's navigate to the Action Center to review the wave notifications. So here we have two waves, 81 and 82. And you will notice that there are two notifications for each wave. So the first one that is generated from the batch execution, and the second one that generated from the wave notification policy. It seems that 82 wave has been failed, and we can review the message here. No work was created for this wave. You can navigate to this wave by clicking here, Open Wave Details, and this is the same for the wave 81 that has been successfully posted. The notifications that are generated from the batch execution, like this one and this one, will be generated every time regardless of the wave notification policy that assigned to the wave template. You can disable these notifications with this option, Disable Wave Processing Batch Notifications. So I'll set this option to yes. So in that case, I'll disable the batch execution notifications and just send notifications as per the wave notification policy of each wave template. After configuring the wave templates, let's review the warehouse management parameters that are related to the wave processing. Normally, this is one-time setup when you create the legal entity. However, this could be updated later on as per the business requirements. Mainly, the wave processing parameters allow you to manage the wave-related logs, like the wave progress and the wave processing history logs. And the second option is to process the waves in batch, so you can run the wave allocation step in parallel processing. The wave process can be time consuming, and the majority of the processing time is spent in the allocation step and the work creation step. It's possible to run the wave allocation step in parallel, which can improve the performance of the wave processing. So in the wave allocation step, you can specify the maximum number of batch tasks per warehouse level, and definitely this should be aligned with the maximum batch threads that defined in the server configuration. You can also assign a wave processing batch group on warehouse level, so you can manage the dedicated batch AOSs for this process. Now let's navigate to the warehouse management parameters and see how to configure the wave processing options and how to process the waves in batch. When you create a new legal entity, these are the values that will be defaulted. In order to process the waves in batch, then you should ensure that Process Waves in Batch option is set to yes. When this option is enabled, so the wave process will be run in batch. Then you can select here a wave processing batch group where you can configure the dedicated batch AOSs, or you can keep it empty so the empty batch group will be used. Then I'll navigate to the wave process methods form to specify the number of batch tasks for the allocate wave step. So here in the wave process method form that found in warehouse management module, setup waves, then wave process methods, I'll select allocate wave, then I'll click task configuration, and then here you can specify the maximum number of batch tasks per warehouse, and also you can select a wave processing batch group for a specific warehouse. So here for warehouse 80, I'll specify here 8 batch task. And then here in the wave processing batch group, I'll select WMS wave processing batch group. So this means that while the wave process is running, it will be executed in 8 tasks in parallel. Now let's go back to the wave processing options and see how to manage the related wave logs. In general and from performance point of view, it's not recommended to enable these logs all the time, since inserting the logs could be a time consuming. So I would suggest enabling these options just in case you are encountering a specific issue or an error message. So in that case, the wave logs can help you to clarify what's going on. So here in the wave processing, we have 3 logs. The first one is create wave progress log. This log is recording the wave processing progress, and this log is available in the wave form. So let's navigate to the waveform. Here in the waveform, you can click progress in order to review the progress of this wave. So here on the left band, you can see the wave steps like we have here in the first sequence, we have validate wave. You can review the duration of this step and the start date and end date. Then we have create loads, and we can see here that this wave created 10 loads. Then while processing the wave, you can review the percentage completed of this step, allocate wave, the total processed load lines, and the duration. Then at the end, it will create the work, and we can see here that we have total wave peak lines are 10. The second log is create wave processing history log. This log is recording the wave processing history, and you can review this log either from the waveform. So here in the waveform, you can click processing history, or you can review it from the wave processing history log page that's found in warehouse management module, outbound waves, then wave processing history log. So here in the wave processing history log page, you can review the wave ID, the transaction time, the message, whether this wave is successfully posted or it contains error. Then in case of this wave successfully posted, then you can review the load ID, the shipment ID, and the work creation number that generated for this wave. The third log is used to create containerization history log. We're going to review this process in details in the containerization lesson. But for now, this log could be accessible from the waveform. So here in the waveform, you can click containerization history, or you can review the same log from the containerization history page that found in warehouse management module, packing and containerization, then containerization history. Last but not least, we have the option of wait for lock. So in the wait for lock, you should specify the time that an allocation step will wait for a system resource that is logged by another allocation step. This is relevant when several waves are running simultaneously. So when a wave is processing and during the allocation step, it tries to acquire a lock on the combination of item plus dimensions above the location. When one or more concurrent waves also try to acquire the same lock for an identical record, those waves will be blocked and queued. So simply this option determines how long the wave processing should wait to acquire a lock on the item and dimensions that is logged. A maximum of 60 seconds is a typically good choice, and this is also the default value. If the wait time is too short, then a high volume of waves might fail due to timeout issues. Now let's recap what we discussed in the session. So this session was about how to define and configure the wave templates. So first we reviewed how to create and assign the shipments into waves manually and automatically. Then how to process the waves utilizing the available options like automatically with the release to warehouse step, manually from the waveform, and using the process wave periodic job and using the wave threshold options. Then how to release the waves in order to make the picking work available. And after that, we reviewed how to configure the wave notification policies. At the end, we talk about the wave processing parameters. So we reviewed how to process the waves in parallel processing and how to enable the available wave logs. Thank you for watching and your time. Stay tuned for the next lesson. Feel free to reach out if I can help. Take care and good luck.